Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim or Cimnanya. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across this video where this woman was talking about how conservative her parents are and how the election came and passed by. I think she was going for Thanksgiving, and she was saying that she doesn't know how to put up with the parents or the family. Why? Because they are very conservative and all of that. So in essence, she's also trying to say that there is she actually understand what black people, she probably didn't understand what black people are going through and all that. But then while she was saying all this, I have this feeling that she is still a conservative, right? Because recently a lot of them have been putting up a show. And I don't know who is the good one. I don't know who is the bad one, right? But then while she was talking about, talking to people or trying to educate people on how to go about it and all that, she said she would not want to start from her home. And I am like, why wouldn't you start from your home? Because you already know that your house is where the conservatives lives and all that. Because you know that if you really want to look good, you have to start. If you are a clean person, your home really got to be clean, not just the clothes that you wear will be clean, right? So you have to start from home. And if you are not willing to start from home, there is something shady about it. That is my own view. And you are free to also say your own view. And the person that was talking, Portia was also talking about how, most of them have been very performative after the election, trying to let you know they are the good one and all that. How am I supposed to believe? But you know what? Let's get into this video.
Happy Thanksgiving, white women. I think we really need to talk. I'm on my way to my family's Thanksgiving, where I would call my family ashamed Trump supporters. They don't talk about it very much, but they're kind of issue and emotional voters, so abortion is like the only thing that they care about. And up until this point, and honestly, I don't know that. That's my assumption based on little drips and drabs of conversations that we've had over the years. And I, for this reason, have pretty strong boundaries with my family in terms of internal boundaries for myself, what I share about myself and my life. But also just time, privacy. A long time ago, I learned that to have a relationship with my parents specifically, there just had to be boundaries. And as I've grown and learned a lot more about codependency and committed to healing from codependency, I realized that those weren't boundaries so much as I was trying to control the situation because I'm afraid of other people's anger and disappointment and hurt feelings. So as I've been healing from that, and then we have this election, and then Thanksgiving, who else wants to change the law where election day is not right before Thanksgiving? Anyway, so then we have Thanksgiving, and this time around, it's just too important for me not to talk to people about this. And I've been listening to a lot of Black women in my life and on TikTok about what is my role as a liberal white woman here. And all of them resoundingly say, talk to your fucking white folk. And I agree with them, and I don't want to do it. However, something that I was thinking about today is that when it comes to white women, there is a lot of complexity in terms of progress. White women have had many roles in progress for social issues, but they also have been a barrier. Think about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. This is kind of a classic white woman tension of progress where Susan B. Anthony just wanted one thing, one vote, and she was willing to bowl over any person of color, specifically Black women, to be able to get white women the vote. While Elizabeth Cady Stanton was in that same time, and she was like, we're doing everything now. Women are fully human and we're going to change everything, to the point where she rewrote the Bible to have female pronouns. Mwah, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. But there's this constant tension of white women having the privilege of white supremacy, but also being harmed by the patriarchy. And the challenge and the option and the opportunity for white women seems to be pacify the patriarchy, choose to go with it so that you're not punished by it, which doesn't work. You're eventually punished by it, and you're punished by it all the time, but it's just like fish to water and we don't notice it anymore. Or you can be a liberal, feminist, queer community, like what they would characterize as weirdo outcast, and just be pushing and pushing and pushing. What I've noticed as a white woman about my identity in these places where I'm like, oh my God, 50% of the women who voted for the new Nazi party. Sorry, not sorry. And voted against their own interests and against the interests of so many people. Like how? Why? And so I start thinking about white women and this new like call to action that I have to be responsible to have these conversations within my, with my privilege and harnessing my privilege to have conversations with other white women. And then we have all of this cultural movement around what is true about white women. And the answer that I've mostly gotten is they are a barrier to progress, which I agree. Half of the women that voted, now again, it's half of the women that voted. I would really like to look into where we're at actually in terms of ideologies, but it doesn't surprise me. I am in a conservative family. I know what this looks like. So where we're getting all of these ideologies about white women is coming from things like basic bitches who like pumpkin spice lattes and Uggs, or Karens, right? White women Karens. These are the perceptions of white women that are happening right now. No wonder why it's hard for white women to actually speak for themselves and to each other. And that's what I want to do. I've been thinking about starting a podcast for a long time. A lot of you know this about me. Originally, it was going to be about my abusive boyfriend who stole $80,000 from me and also like touts himself as like a mental health guru on TikTok, which really pissed me off, which is why I started a TikTok, because I was going to essentially steal all of his followers and tell the story of that. Maybe I will. But then the election happened and I realized what's most important for me as a clinical social worker, someone who's good at mediation, someone who understands psyche, someone who has a master's of divinity but is no longer religious, grew up in a conservative place but is now in the queer community and liberal as fuck. This is much more important for me to do. Not because I'm more important than other voices that are talking, but because I'm a white woman and white women need to start talking to each other and for ourselves, because we are the barrier to progress right now. White women, we are the barrier to progress. I wouldn't say me as a liberal, but that's probably just my ego. We, as a community, our greatest identity is like an inch deep, and it ends with pumpkin spice lattes. Like, that's the identity of white women. It's either pumpkin spice lattes or conservative MAGA women that make absolutely no sense and have no rationality. That's not good enough for me. So anyone who identifies as a white woman, if you want to have this conversation, follow me. Let's have this conversation. Let's figure out how to talk to each other and for ourselves so that we can understand this cultural ideology that is becoming a barrier to progress. I really want that. And notice, conservative women, I would love for you to come talk to me. Like, we've got to talk about this. I want to understand what's going on with that, and I'm going to try my hardest to talk to my own family, though I will say it's easier for me to talk to strangers about this than my family, and that's something that we could talk about, because I think a lot of white women are socialized into being codependent because of Christian culture. That's a whole other thing. But conservative women, I want you to be a part of this. Liberal white women, this is our role. We need to start talking to conservative white women and trans women. If you yourself identify as a white woman, this is for you. Please come along, share your wisdom. Let's start turning the tide by simply having discourse for ourselves and with each other. So in my responsibility as a liberal white woman, I am starting a podcast called White Women We Need to Talk. The main question of which is, what is true about white women? What's true for white women? And what does progress look like across the board? But this is in the very early stages. So if you're interested, follow me. It's just time, So follow anyone. Let's have discourse for white women, with white women, about how we're going to do this and how we're actually going to get progress here. White women, I have a question for you. When was the first time you remember realizing that you were white? Hey everybody, I'm Allison. I am a theologically trained clinical social worker, and I am starting a podcast called White Women We Need to Talk about the political divide between white women answering the questions of what is true for white women, what is true about white women, and what does progress look like. If any of that sounds good, please give me a follow. So this question is interesting. When I was learning about white supremacy for the first time really academically, a professor posed this question: when was the first time you realized you were white? For me, I grew up in the suburbs of Boise, Idaho, so very white, very homogenous communities. But one of my first best friends was a little boy who was Black. And in our neighborhood, they were the only Black family that I was aware of. And that wasn't what helped me realize that I was white. I knew that there was a difference between us, but I didn't understand culturally what it meant to be white at that time. It wasn't until he and I started going to school and riding the bus together. And I remember one day getting on the bus really excited to tell him something that I had learned. And I don't remember where I learned this, but it was like on the news or like my parents, like some kind of authority where I had no doubt that it was true. And I was going to go share it with him. And I go on the bus and I say, guess what? Your body and your muscles are different. Your bones and your muscles are different. And that's what makes Black people good at sports. So you're going to be really good at sports. And this little boy turns to me, and I'm so grateful for this to this day. Little boy turns to me and he's like, that's not true. We're just good at sports. And that was the first time I realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm holding a lot of beliefs about my skin color already. And I'm like 7 years old. How did this happen? I'm specifically curious about conservative white women. When was the first time that you remember realizing the cultural significance of you being white?
About something that's already happened, and I hope that we don't get stuck there, but it's relevant to what I'm going to talk about now. I was having a conversation, and somebody was asking me about how I've been feeling since the election, and it's a loaded question because I've been feeling a lot of things, and I've also been feeling not much of anything, like numbness, I guess is a feeling. But what I've been thinking about a lot is performativeness since the election. Part of it is what happened immediately after it, and then more of it has been what's happened since then. And I've talked about the performative acts that I've seen and how they've made me feel, but I thought more and I thought a little bit deeper about it. The reason why I have been frustrated, and I'm white woman, I'm talking to you, so take a breath and listen to what I'm saying. And if you get activated about what I'm saying, think about that. You're not mad at me about what you're activated by. But my frustration with white women is that we were facing a situation with this man who's been in office before, who is threatening all these things that we've been telling you about. And then what happened, and here we are again. And immediately after that happened, white women started to realize the position that they were in, and their rush came through to show us how good they were so that we would fight for them when they run up against the things that we Black women have been against. But they rush to show us how good they are. The blue bracelets, I'm with you, I'm listening and learning, all of this, but not actually any listening. And what occurred to me is that this sense of urgency by white women, by some white women, has not been to actually support Black women. It has been to make sure that we know that you are good, to make sure that we know that you are virtuous, to make sure that we know that you're going to do whatever you can to continue to show us how good you are, completely negating the fact that if you were listening, you would know that that's what we're looking for. And that happens a lot. It's not just this election. It happens a lot where people are so worried about appearing to be good that they do what they consider to be the good thing, but not listening to what the person that's in need actually would benefit from. But as long as you look like a good person, striving for the title of being a good person or a bad person rarely has you listening to the people that you're trying to perform for. And that's just something to think about. That video yesterday talking about my frustrations with white women wanting to appear good as opposed to actually doing good. But it made me think about something when I was reading some of the comments. It made me think about something further. And then I saw a story today. The comments from that video, and then the story that I saw, the most recent story that I saw is a white woman that was harassing an Indian family, racial slurs, all of that, is how reactive we collectively are as a country. We wait for things to happen, and then we might do something about it. We will do something about it. It just depends on what's being done. Maybe there's some action being done to make sure the same thing doesn't happen again, but more often than not, what is being done in response to that is people talking about the event, talking about what happened, talking about how they can't believe that this person did the thing, that this person was so offensive, that they were so bigoted. We should all believe that. This should not be a surprise. When we talk about these stories, we're mostly talking about the people that cause harm, which it should absolutely happen. What's not being discussed enough is how there are bystanders who are doing nothing, that are saying nothing. They might have their phone out, they might be tweeting or posting on Blue Sky or Threads about what they're seeing, but in the moment they're not saying anything. My mutual Kasim shared a story about a woman in Illinois at a Panera who physically attacked a person because he was wearing his keffiyeh. And you could span the crowd and nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. This woman ran into another woman paying it. Nobody said anything. And this really is a stream of consciousness. I'm talking in drafts a little bit over the place, but I think about in that moment again how nothing was done, but then there were so many stories about it after the fact and people commiserating about what happened and they can't believe what happened. And if they were there, they would have, and I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe the "if I were there" comments. And if you're hearing me say that and you feel some type of way about me saying that, remember that I haven't said any names. I just said that I don't believe it. I don't believe it because I don't have the proof to see that people really will stand up and stop something in the moment. The way that this connects with the comments from the video is that the comments in that video, white women were able to easily identify the why of why things happen, how we got here, because of our past, because of how we were raised. It is 2024 and that has not changed. So the identifying of how you all got here, we got that, we know that. At what point do you break free and do something different? And that does not mean in the comment section of somebody telling you something that you said they already know. That does not mean posting a video of harm that you see happening instead of throwing your phone to the side and stepping in and stopping it from happening. Because another part of appearing good is sharing those stories and chastising them for what they did. But the doing good is to make sure that it didn't get far enough that there was a story to record and then post on the internet. This comment says, let's all move content toward unifying rather than all of this infighting. Some BIPOC love the bracelets and others do not. Either way, we're all getting sidetracked. Let's see who left this comment for me. Yes, a white woman. That tracks. You know, earlier I had thought about doing a video about confirmation bias and it didn't land the way I wanted to, but look at that. I have an opportunity here. Confirmation bias, loosely defined, is when you are looking for other people or other situations that will align with a biased thought that you've already created for yourself. Meaning that if somebody doesn't think what you're thinking about a situation, you're going to disagree with them almost immediately to be contrarian because it's not matching up to the thought that you had in your mind. It's easy for women, it's easy for white women to say, let's move this forward. It's easy for white women to say, what's with all the infighting? It's easy for white women to refer to black women as BIPOC. It really is. It's easy for you all to do that. It's also really easy for you all to say, let's stop the infighting. It's not infighting, beloved, because black women aren't fighting anybody. We aren't fighting anybody. We're letting you know how we feel. And it is concerning. It is concerning that black women telling you how we feel about something has you all showing up in the comment sections of black women saying, let's stop doing this. You know, you guys have had 5 days. You've had 5 days to deal with being judged by the color of your skin. Black women have had 250 plus years. You guys will be okay. You'll be okay. And lastly, this is specific for Mocktail and Mary Janes. Don't ever tell me what to do. Not even in what you think is a good idea or unifying. Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
The white women who voted for Kamala, this is not our opportunity to use black women to ask them to do the labor of providing us with comfort and alleviating our fear and anxiety over the election. We're also not going to come to black women expecting them to give us a pat on the back and say, we know you're not one of the bad ones. You did what you could, hun. And also, it is not our place to go to black women when they are criticizing white women. I mean, have you looked at the numbers? And to tell them, not me, it wasn't me, I'm one of the good ones. Stop putting that on black women. Stop it. Don't do it. If you've got big feelings of fear and trepidation about the future, about our rights as women, if you have intense anger and disappointment at other white women, shame about our demographic, stop asking black women to manage those feelings for you. You are a grown-ass woman and you get to deal with them. and then how you can turn those feelings into
This
effect.
is all I got from this video, and sincerely speaking, I do not believe there is any why, because as it stands, I am grouping everybody together. And if you really want to do the work, like she said that she would like to do the work and she does not want to start with her family, I think the best place and the best place to start with is your family. And I kind of have a little bit, I mean, after this election, a lot of people have been, especially women, have been actually coming out to let us know that they are the good ones, all of a sudden bracelet, I was not among the people that, and you all remember that, okay, for a while now, I do not separate anybody from anybody. Why? Because when something happens, they group Black people all together. So I am grouping all of them together because I do not know who is the good one and who is the bad one. So it is not all of you, right? I don't know why my instinct is telling me that this person is still is just blabbing. I'm sorry to say it, but that is how I feel. I mean, I know recently they've been trying to let everybody know that they are the good ones. So trying to talk. She said she would like to do the work, but I mean, she doesn't know how to go about to start talking about. It means you are not ready. Not until you are ready. You have to start with your immediate family, because those ones are the, are the people you should start with. I mean, your family are very conservative and all that, and you left them and you are going out. The first of all, charity begins at home. Start from your parents. You need to educate them. You need to sanitize them. Let them understand the implications of what they are doing, not just going out to tell people. I mean, who would even listen to you if you are going to talk about, if you are going to, tell people some certain things when your parents or your siblings and all that are not even doing the right things? So I don't know. For me, I feel like it's supposed to start at home. Now, let's talk about this. I mean, Portia said, some certain things that they do is just prefer, trying to put up an act, which is true. Like the way the election came and passed, a lot of them, went all cold. Some of them started putting up attitude. Some said they were planning to jump them because, they were looking for an excuse to justify the reason why they voted for who they voted for, right? Some also, there is nothing we did not hear after that period. Why? Just because they feel like there is need to put attitude. That is to tell you how dangerous some of them are. They know they messed up, but they are not ready to own it. But one thing I know for sure is that you all are absolutely going to own it. Maybe not today, not tomorrow, eventually, because what is coming is really very, it is not an easy thing. It's just something everybody is going to experience. And you all are going to experience it. We are going to experience it too. And you all already know that it's a survival move. That is how Black people were born. So I feel like she's putting up, trying to be the good one and all that, because if you are already ready, you are going to be ready. She said something about that. When did you know that you are white and all? Of course, you know you were born white. Of course, you know you are different. If I pull up and you pull up, you definitely know that, there is different. It is people, I call people that say, I don't see color. They are liars, because you see everything. If you don't see color, how do you run the green light or the red light? Of course, you see color. You can actually try to justify that you are not a rare disease and all that. But telling me you don't see color or your dog is black and you have black friends and all that, it's gaslighting 101. I do not like to hear it. So you all better fix yourselves up, because Black people are not fixing anybody up this time around. And you all should stop putting up this act that you all have been putting up, trying to make us feel like, Black people are safe with you. I don't think so. Not until you people have to prove it, because they've given you so much opportunity and you all keep messing it up. So nobody's trying to give you that opportunity again. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.